Welcome back to the Delaware Way. A school district in Delaware is taking some heat because one of the teachers asked her students to draw mugshots of what they believe a drug addict looks like. Jessica Bies is the News Journal education reporter. She broke this story, I guess I could say, right? What was the teacher thinking?
I think that the lesson was intended to show students that there are multiple faces to a drug user. You know, addiction is a tricky subject, and I think that many people fall into addiction, and that the point of the lesson was just to get students to think about, you know, some of the causes of drug addiction and who it can happen to, which is really anyone. There were actually mixed reactions to it because some parents were really in support of the lesson because they thought that it taught their children some hard truths, you know, made them really think about the role drug addiction plays in increasingly more families' lives. So,
but there were people that didn't like it.
There were people that didn't like it.
What did they say?
I think that also has to do with the increasing prevalence that drugs is playing, you know. I think they were afraid that there might be some students that maybe had drug addicts in their families, like their mothers or siblings or an uncle, or I mean, really anyone.
That didn't happen, though, that you know of?
Not that I know of. I think that there were just some fears about that they were asking kids to maybe, you know, draw something that they've seen in their own lives, and that would be potentially traumatic.
And this teacher is still doing it and defends it?
I didn't talk to the teacher. I talked to the principal, who was very supportive of the teacher. I think that he felt that she's a good person, that she had the best of intentions, and that it came across the right way.
Let me talk about another story that you have, which I find much scarier than this one, and that is the allegation that there's legislation in Dover right now that would allow the governor to somehow punish school board members that do not agree with him.
Basically, what the bill does is outline a process for the State Board of Education, which is a governor-appointed board, to remove elected school board members from office for like perceived negligence or misconduct. So,
which sounds like a good idea. On its face, that sounds like a good idea.
I think so. I think that the Representative Paul Baumbach, who wrote it, I think that he's looking at school board members that have maybe made headlines for some kind of misconduct in office. You know, either they break the law, they get charged with something, but they're serving these 5-year terms. So, I mean, they continue to serve their term. There's no way to take them out of office as it is.
So I see that, but the criticism of it is it gives the state power over local government. And so if somebody in a school board doesn't do what the state wants them to do, they could remove that person.
Yes, that's been floated. I think that some people are concerned that because this is a governor-appointed board, that this could make school boards really political and give the governor or any elected official the power to do that. Because there are some school board members in the state that have openly disagreed with members of the General Assembly and with the governor over education policy and reform.
The argument would be, if you have a problem locally, you should handle it locally, not give the state the power, the authority over the local government, because if that happens, it can be abused.
Right, and I think there's a voters' rights issue here too, because some people would argue that if you have elected officials that are put into office by voters, that only voters should be able to remove them.
Do you think this is going to go in front of the Assembly or the Senate? Do you think it's going to be a real bill and not just one they're talking about?
I think something will come before the General Assembly. I think it will be much different than what was floated last week.
There's that much controversy about it.
Yeah, I know that Representative Baumbach has gotten a lot of feedback on it, and I anticipate that he's going to make some revisions before he brings it before the General Assembly. I do think that that same intent will be there. It will create a way to remove school board members from office, and I'm not exactly sure what it will look like.
There has to be some standards, though. Jessica, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in.
Thank
Jessica
you.
Bies, News Journal education reporter. We talked a little bit about the opioid crisis. We'll continue the conversation and talk about how they're trying to defeat addiction in Delaware when the Delaware Way continues?